the last episode started with a very telling and interesting scene that gave us an interesting perspective on one of the more overlooked characters within Dragon Ball Daima. So today, we are going to be talking about Shin's brother, the youngest, Degesu, the youngest of the three that keeps flying under everybody's radar, and what his deal might actually be. Because episode 13 and onwards gave us a lot of hints that we might have been wrong about this person. And it's kind of awesome, because it does seem that he has layers after all. First and foremost, I do not think that he is secretly planning to use Gomah or stab him in the back. That is out of the window at the moment. He does have a sense of loyalty. That does have its limits though, and it could snap at any point. And it does seem to be a rather cordial situation he's in with both his elder sister and the king. Nahere, Shin, was building up him to be more of a sinister individual, ambitious upstart that didn't get along with the other Glind. But I just can't get rid of the thought that maybe Shin is a little bit biased here. Don't get me wrong, I'm quite sure that Degesu is not a good person, but he might be the least evil out of all the antagonists in Daima. In fact, a lot of Nahare's disdain toward his brother may come from some shared past that could reveal that Degesu also has some good reasons to hold a grudge or feel abandoned by Shin. If you think about it, he used to be very cordial and respectful in regards to his sister Dr. Arinsu, to the point of trying to convince Gomah that her actions are not some sort of betrayal, as the Demon King suspected. Also, if we study his relationship with Gomah throughout the series, initially, as we previously mentioned in our discussions, he was very supportive of the imp, becoming a proper successor to Deborah's throne. He seemed to push him to assume and assert the role, as Gomah himself seemed to be initially a little insecure. And what is notable, he wasn't beyond showing said insecurity to Degesu. He was quite open. They had that roommate sort of dynamic, It's like two guys sharing a room, working for the same company, and suddenly one is chosen to be the team leader, or something like that. That was the general feeling that we got from them, haven't I? Yeah, Gomah was always the one higher in the hierarchy, but only slightly, because episode 14 revealed that he was a vice supreme demon king for Deborah. Not only that, but it seemed like Degesu was okay with things being that way. We could even assume that they were friends, as much as the two of them are able to have meaningful friendships being from the demon world, so sorta. But the more we see both of them, the more bossy Gomah has seemingly become. And in episode 13, he finally gave his right-hand Glind an order that made him visibly uncomfortable. He still follows up with it though, but for the first time, we see him starting to doubt what he is doing, turning off Warp Summer. Now, initially, that might seem like an overreaction. Is it really worse than all the bad stuff Gomah has done up until now? But we do have to remember, the last time a Demon King tried to merely limit travel with the help of everyone's favorite mechanical fish, it caused a lot of inhabitants to brute force it and escape the demon world entirely. Not only that, but this was the time when Shin and the last batch of Glind had left the demon realm altogether, which might have given Degesu some sort of traumatic episode or something. Also, if you think about this, due to Gomah's panic, he has made everyone hostages, the entire demon realm. These chaotic actions might have given his second command the feeling that the king doesn't really have a plan, that maybe he isn't the right person to rule after all. Moreover, episode 14 has made both of them realize that what they are running might not be a fully functioning empire, but more like a circus, as their special unit, the Gendarmarie Force, does seem to be less competent than the Ginyus and much more reckless. Now, we initially thought that Degesu was merely wanting to use Gomah as a puppet, that he would be the one pulling the strings instead. But his intentions regarding the imp were weirdly pure. And this is even when you take into consideration that he seems to be more perceptive of the two. He is the one to sense that the barrier had been breached. Although, to be fair, so does Arinsu, so maybe this is some sort of a Glin thing, a sensitivity to magic. He does seem like a true believer in the current system of the demon realm though, and after seeing how he approached the order regarding Warp Summer, I don't think he was much of a Machiavellian type of character or personality. He did seem quite comfortable in his position. But the question is, How much more of this can he take? Where would he go if Gomah would, say, break the camel's back? To his sister, Arinsu, who is pretty power-hungry and already convinced about his victory? At least she's family, and he has some respect toward her, so that should be an easy choice. Or maybe a change of heart and realization is in order, that he has to help depose Gomah and Arinsu before they mess up their beloved system beyond repair. Would he be beyond helping Nahare, Goku, and the others? Maybe after Glorio's initial betrayal, he'll be the one to save them from the awaiting predicament. It is hard to say at this time, but it is certainly interesting that both brothers seem themselves as the upstarts of some sort. Degesu isn't the biggest fan of Shin's fraternizing with mortals, though his views do seem to be far less extreme than Zamasu's, to the point that he might at least have some respect toward his station, but a dislike to how he is performing his duties. Maybe he hoped for a position of a directional Supreme Kai before. Maybe he had aspirations and Shin got the break. Maybe this is the thing that created a rift between the siblings, when he was chosen as one of the Grand Supreme Kai's helpers. Someone as formal and believing in a hierarchy such as him surely would love a position like that. I cannot exactly pinpoint why, but I do feel that Degesu and Nahare might once have had a relationship that was good when the younger sibling idolized the Order, much like he did with Arinsu, and then something broke that bond. Maybe they fought over Shin trying to evacuate his brother from the demon realm. Again, there is a lot of regret within the Supreme Kai whenever he sees the ship, and Glorio's reactions in the earlier episodes may suggest that both of his siblings might have a proper reason to bear a grudge toward him. Now, there is another aspect of Degesu's personality I wish to discuss today. He is not in the series as much as we thought he would be, but when he is, doesn't he resemble someone else in terms of behavior? He is very agreeable and formal, with his self-worth being crushed at every opportunity. He seems to be pushed around despite his high status, and also provides some exposition for the characters that he is surrounded by. Why? This is a spitting image of his elder brother Shin in the later part of Z and the entirety of Super. Basically, Nahare shedded his curse and passed it on to poor Degesu. Obviously, there are differences, because, well, Degesu's taller. But it is interesting that the younger brother does seem to represent all the insecurities and things that were holding back the Supreme Kai back in the day. Things that we've made fun of for the last several years. I don't think this is accidental either, and is meant to show that the two brothers are a lot more alike than we previously assumed, or even they assumed. It adds some sort of nice symbolism to the character expansion that Shin has had in Daima. Yes, timeline-wise, everything that we see is happening before Dragon Ball Super, if this is the same timeline, that is. But on the meta level, we see that the character we have known has left a lot of traits that have been holding him back, well, behind him. It might be kind of unfair to call Degesu a manifestation of these traits, but at the same time, it isn't completely baseless. But obviously, there is more to him, and the biggest question is, though, is that when is he going to be saying enough? Let's entertain a few possibilities. Him joining Arinsu wouldn't really change his position all that much. His sister does seem like a powerful personality, and I'm quite sure that she would push him around the same way that Gomah does, maybe a little bit more politely. She does seem to be about power, and her ultimate goal might be to turn the demon realm into some sort of testing range for her experiments. Again, she could do with an assistant like her younger brother by her side. But would the future she envisions for her world be the same with the system that Degesu really holds dear? Would he betray Gomah for that? See it as a lesser of two evils? We know which evil stuff is the direct responsibility of Arinsu, and quite honestly, we don't think she regrets any of it. In fact, she might double down and invent something that is much worse than the collars which tracks every single demon realm occupant's movement. It's also quite clear at this point that Gomah considering cutting her funding was not the thing that pushed her to work on her own. She was already plotting all of that before anyway. She just didn't see him as a competent leader is all, and it's kind of hard to blame her. She's kind of right. But the other question is, would she be the right choice? Well, she does just seem like a different flavor of evil, really. All right, but what about the other choice? Him starting himself on the path toward redemption. And I do think that out of the two siblings, he is the more likely one to mend his relationship with Shin. His biggest crime so far is being just a complicit dog's body. But if he is like his brother in any shape or form, maybe there are good traits about his character as well. Maybe with the right guidance, he might be the one to claim the throne in the end. Maybe with the help of our heroes, he would see the error of his ways and even be allowed to take Gomah's place. He does seem to be very meticulous, and with some right guidance, say from maybe Pansy and similarly redeemed Glorio perchance, could he do something good for the realm? Maybe he had the traits needed to lead all along, he just didn't know it. He just has to change his disposition that little bit. There is also another thing, a Chekhov's eye, as we might call it. Someone will wear it. Arinsu, Marba, the Margins, Glorio, someone will. And as many of you suggested in the comments, it would be actually quite hilarious that if in the heat of the battle, it actually ended up on Gomah's forehead and actually cemented him as the big bad after all this time of doubting him. But what if Degesu, tired of being pushed around, is the one to claim it? This doesn't even deny either of the previous outcomes, honestly. It might start with him abandoning Gomah, then after getting the same treatment than Arinsu snapping, going for the eye, and then being talked down by Goku and Shin after a climactic battle. Well, the interesting thing about this character is that all three of these things could happen at once. Or, he'll remain a lackey till the end of his days and will be simply arrested. We have no way of knowing for sure. But I do think that he is shown in such a way to maybe make us think that he's forgettable. So later he can do something meaningful and we'll suddenly go like, oh, I didn't know you had it in you. That and world building have been some of the best elements of Daima thus far. Trying to decipher the motivations and further actions of the characters, it keeps us on our toes. And Degesu does seem to be important for Shin's personal growth. Again, despite being a clear evil lackey, he does seem to have been wronged by his brother. I really hope we get some flashbacks in the last few episodes because that could really benefit both characters even more. The sheer amount of loyalty and support he's given Gomah has been almost admirable in a way. I do wonder if he moved that dynamic from the one he had with his elder brother, how he substituted it once he was abandoned by him. I think there is an untold heartbreak waiting to happen. We don't have a lot of these in Dragon Ball, but then again, Daima really loves to break the rules by following them in a way, if you understand what we mean. Basically, it both follows some standard Dragon Ball tropes, but also gives us flavors that might be common in other types of media and anime. But here, in Dragon Ball, they're really fresh. And the multiple villain conspiracy is really fun, especially that even the most overlooked of them all can spark some interesting ideas. I do wonder what his official title is, though. Royal Advisor? The famed Demon Supreme Kai? A self-appointed Makaioshin? We have no way of understanding for sure right now. But no matter what will happen to the character, we are getting a confrontation. I expect at least a duel, with roles being reversed. For now, we are awaiting our heroes preparing themselves for the final battle. The breaking of the barrier has proven to be a lot easier than originally thought, because he's just wanted to go along with things. He's finding this fun. There is also the whole thing with the evil third eye and how a mysterious girl has traded a hat for the belt containing the artifact. Is she working for Nahere's brother? Or is it a form that Degesu formed himself? We don't really know that part. The scene was played for gags, but someone has gained access to a really powerful artifact. The preview for the next episode, titled simply Degesu, will be the crux of our discussion. It'll show us the character holding Dende at gunpoint and seemingly threatening him. But we have to remember that they do like to troll us with these teasers, Minotaur says hello, and we cannot completely rule out any other option. At this point, Degesu seems to still be by his master's side, but is he capable of switching sides? The things are starting to slowly push toward him, so what is he really capable of? Who knows, right? Well, Akio Yoku does, and he is not budging, obviously. But for now, we are leaving you with these thoughts on this character, and we would love to hear more of your opinions down in the comments. Do you think Degesu will be a mere nuisance, or do you reckon that he will somehow factor in the last act of the story? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!